in the West Country, I was killing it with a good friend of mine. My friend was eager to show me the village on Saturday morning after I arrived on Friday night. I'll show you everything while I show you around. After that, I'd like you to meet John Hill, one of my friends. He is roughly 70 years old and is well versed in the village's history. Oh, and don't forget to question him about Martin's Lake. Why? Is this a good area to go fishing? I inquired. He chuckled. All right, no. Let old John tell you the tale, even though there isn't any water in it anymore. I have no doubt you'll love it, my pal added. After touring the area the following day, we had tea at the home of old John Hill. We talked the elderly man into telling us the tale of the lake. It was Christmas 1683, and a young gentleman named George Martin had returned to the village from Cambridge University. He was a well-liked young man who would travel far on his horse to see his neighborhood pals. He chose to stay at this little motel one night as it was snowing heavily, and he didn't want to ride all the way to his residence outside the settlement. All of the young men and ladies, with the exception of one, were dancing together at the hotel because it was Christmas and there was music playing. Anne Clark was her name, and she was employed by the hotel. She was a simple, unintelligent young girl. Actually, she used to be teased behind her back by others, and naturally, none of the young guys desired to dance with her. However, the young gentleman, George Martin, felt sorry for her and invited her to dance. The group was performing an old tune. "Lady, would you like to walk with me and talk?" The poor girl's happiness at having someone to dance with was evident to all. Her smile spread across her face. The young man visited the hotel once a week after that evening. Anne Clark used to run out to meet him as soon as she heard him sing that tune as he rode up on his horse. Some witnesses claim to have seen the two kiss, and they frequently went for walks by the lake together. This continued for several months until George Martin's parents were able to find him a spouse. She came from an excellent family and was a stunning, wealthy young lady. George Martin was praised by all for his luck, but then everything went wrong. When the young lady learned about Anne Clark, she became enraged that a guy of his caliber would associate with a regular country girl. She declined to wed him. Of course, he was upset over losing such a lovely young wife and regretted ever having met Anne. There are rumors that he hit Anne after they argued the following time he saw her. They were spotted together once more a week later. After saying a few words to her, he rode away. They said that although she appeared content the entire day, she quickly vanished. Nobody could locate her anyplace. A few weeks later, George Martin returned to the hotel, entered the bar, and requested a drink. He was served by a young lady named Sarah, who was Anne Clark's acquaintance. She said, "Are you looking for Anne, sir? Because she hasn't been seen in weeks." With a fierce reply, he said he wasn't searching for her and went to sit by himself to enjoy his beer. While cleaning a few glasses, Sarah inadvertently started singing the tune. "Lady, will you walk? Will you talk with me?" With a pale expression, the young gentleman instructed her to cease singing right now. Naturally, she stopped right away, but just as quickly, she heard Anne's voice outside the door, carrying on with the song. "It's Anne. She's returned." Sarah sobbed and bolted for the door. George Martin yelled, "Stop!" but it was already too late. The room was absolutely dark as the door opened, and all of the lamps were blown out by a strong, chilly wind. Sarah heard footsteps on the floor, and the large cupboard door opened and closed. She noticed something that appeared to be the bottom of a woman's dress trapped beneath the cabinet door as she lighted the bulbs once more. Fearing for her life, Sarah begged one of the bar's men to open the cabinet. George Martin cried out and bolted from the bar out into the street as the man pushed open the closet door. A diminutive human figure emerged from the cabinet, wearing clothing that appeared damp. Its face remained hidden, but as it moved through the pub and out into the night, everyone felt a chilling wind. The young boy who was returning home from his lakeside fishing excursion was the next person to see George Martin. He claimed to have seen the young man, who was obviously terrified, rushing in the direction of the river. He ripped off a branch from a tree and began using it to feel about in the water. A few minutes later, the branch struck something, and a weird noise that sounded like a scream emanated from the lake's depths. George Martin began to shout, as well as cover his cars with his hands. The young man was chased into the forest by a human shape that emerged from the water as the child was doing this. Running, the boy dialed the cops. Anne Clark's body was discovered at the bottom of the lake, and George Martin's blood-stained knife was discovered beneath a tree. Of course, he was guilty of murder, and 5 weeks later, they hung him. Even though it's now dry, everyone recognized it as Martin's Lake after that. And do you know that no one in this village will see it? Yeah!